Welcome to Ill-Equipped History, where two best friends who are chaotic tell you about chaotic people.
Yeah. What a good way to describe us.
I don't really know how else to describe us. I think chaotic's a pretty good descriptor.
Yeah.
I'm Morgan, and here is my best friend Emily, who's also my co-host.
Hi. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
I sing that to myself all the time.
It's so catchy and so true. I
am
am
the
problem.
source of most of my own problems.
You know, here in this new year, I don't know if I've said this to the pod, but I have said it to a few people. No one said your resolutions needed to be like a positive thing, so I've just resolved to be more of a problem. To be a little bit more extra, a bit more combative, I think, in this year of 2025. I'm going to be more instead of less. So, sorry.
I love that for you and your journey. I'm ecstatic for you.
Thanks. It's good for the mental health.
I think my resolution is, I think it's along the same lines where I am just not taking shit anymore. Like, I'm tired of it. I'm not.
Yeah.
I will be the menace. Like, I'm like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. I will say it out loud.
We're not people pleasing anymore.
No.
We're done.
No. It's me, myself, and I.
Yeah. I'm pleasing the people within these four walls that I call home, myself included. And the dogs are, okay, the six living things in this house are going to be happy. And then everyone else after that, y'all are on your own.
Y'all can figure it out. You're adults. It's fine.
That's what we're doing in here. We're figuring it out.
Yeah. I think, honestly, like, talking about New Year's resolutions works very in line with the mindset I had going into this episode.
Really?
So great transition, Emily. So why don't we get started on our skit?
Brain meld.
Brain
okay,
meld.
Let's do it. Brain meld. Let's do it.
A new patient at the Battle Creek Sanitarium is trying to find a spot to sit in the cafeteria. Hey, come sit with me.
Thanks. Wow, there's a lot of people here.
Yeah, we're all here for the same reason you are, trying to become a healthier person.
Have you had success yet?
I think so. My digestion issues have definitely gotten a lot better, and the different baths are great. The food could use some improvement, though. Both patients look at their bland plates. I mean, a little salt and pepper couldn't hurt, you know, but the doc knows best, and honestly, I've never felt better.
Well, that's good to hear at least.
The new patient scoops up a forkful of food ready to eat. Wait, you have to wait.
Why?
We have to do the chewing song.
What?
The chewing song. The doc says we have to chew until the food is completely liquid in our mouths, and he developed a chewing song to help us get along. The patriarch of the sanitarium gets on stage in the middle of the cafeteria.
All right, everyone. All together now.
Chew, chew, chew. That is the thing to do. Chew, chew, chew. That is the thing to do. Chew, chew, chew. That is the thing to do.
Do we have to do this for every bite?
It's good for your digestion.
Okay.
Chew, chew, chew. That is the thing to do.
So this is a fictional account of something that I learned about this character we're going to be talking about today. Excuse me. When I was trying to think of an episode to do for January, I was thinking about New Year's resolutions. And, you know, a lot of people make the resolution to do things for their health.
Right.
More so. And I know last year you talked about the history of working out and exercise.
Yes.
And
Y'all should go back to that. It's hilarious.
It's very interesting, for sure.
Okay. It's good. Okay.
And so I selected a person who was very invested in not only his own health, but the health of other people.
Okay.
His name has a lasting legacy that we have all heard. And he's a complicated person.
Oh, I love complicated individuals.
This man that we're going to be talking about today, there's going to be things I tell you that you're going to say, yeah, I agree. Or, wow, that's a really good thing that he did. And then I'm going to tell you some things and you're going to be like, oh my fucking God, what a monster. So, just prepare yourself for that.
Okay.
It's going to be kind of a roller coaster.
All right. I'm strapping in. Buckle in.
So
Buckling
today
in.
we're talking about a man named John Harvey Kellogg.
Okay.
As in Kellogg cereal.
Now, we have mentioned him before. If you listen to the bonus episode, I think it was when we were talking about popcorn. Was that right? I know one of the brothers got brought up.
I think so.
So, I am vaguely familiar, but we didn't really learn a lot about him. So this is exciting.
Yeah, and I actually first learned about him in a history course I took in college. My professor did not have a very high opinion of this man, and we will tell you why. So just to kind of getting into his background, before he was born, the Kellogg family were homesteaders. So there was a man named John Preston, and he married his first wife, Mary Ann, and they had 5 children together. She eventually contracted tuberculosis in 1837, and she died in 1841 before her 30th birthday.
Oh, no.
She was really young. And so when she was dying from tuberculosis, she said, hey, you need to bring in someone to help take care of these 5 children, so you should bring in a man named Anne Jeanette Stanley. Mm-hmm. At the time, she was a teenage school teacher.
Okay.
And he was like, I think she had like life stuff going on. She didn't want to leave her career as a teacher. So he brought in another person to help around the house. And then that kind of fell through. And then Anne gave up her career for teaching, and her and John Preston eventually married when she was 18. And he was in his 30s. So.
Okay.
They eventually moved out of their hometown and moved to Tyrone Township in Michigan. Mm-hmm. And I think they had become like shopkeepers when they moved. And they eventually gave birth to a man named John Harvey Kellogg. Well, he was a baby. But they gave birth to John Harvey Kellogg.
Gave birth to a full man.
A full-grown-ass man. He was born February 26th, 1852. The day before my birthday.
Oh, wow.
I know.
So where does the last name Kellogg come in then?
John Preston Kellogg.
Kellogg. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
John Preston. Okay. No, we're good.
I apologize for that. I should have. I wrote just John Preston to differentiate from John Harvey, but Kellogg. John Preston Kellogg.
Got it. Okay.
So John Harvey was actually the 5th of John Preston and Anne's children to be born. So he was like number 11th. 10.
No, because there was 5.
And then he was the 5th.
Oh, so he was 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they had one more No, they had 11 children together. Just the 2 of them. So there was like 16 kids altogether.
Stop.
It was the 1800s. That's what you did in the 1800s. You just had a million kids.
No. I'm stressed with 2. Are you kidding me? 16?
Could not. And 5 are from a marriage that was before you and that you entered into when you were 18 years old.
18 years old with, at a minimum, probably a 7 or 8-year-old child.
Yeah. And then you have 11 more kids.
No. No, the poor woman didn't get a break.
When John Harvey was about 4. They ended up moving to Battle Creek, Michigan, where they would end up staying. The Kellogg family was extremely, extremely religious. Mm-hmm. They were so convinced of the second coming of Christ, like, was imminent, that they didn't even send John to school. Like, they taught him to read and write. And then they're like, there's no point in you sending you to school to learn anything because Jesus is going to come and, like, take us to heaven anyway. So he didn't go to school until he was, like, 9 or 10 years old, when they were like,
oh my God. All right,
it's
fine.
probably not happening, so we're going to send you to school. Thankfully, he caught up academically very quickly. He was a very intelligent boy. He thrived in a school environment. He loved being in school, and it was very ironic because when he was in school and when he was a child, he said that he would love to be anything except a doctor because he could not stand the sight of blood.
Oh.
But he would eventually go on to become a doctor.
Oh, he got over it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. One thing that was interesting about John is that he was very, very sickly as a kid. Mm-hmm. He was constantly ill and he had a lot of digestion issues, which may be why he went into the profession that he went into and had the beliefs that he did, and the kind of personal lifestyle choices that he made later, which I'll get into. He also had tuberculosis a lot as a kid, apparently, but survived through childhood. His parents didn't think he would live through adulthood, but he did. And when they moved from Tyrone Township to Battle Creek, they had started becoming involved in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which was just kind of created around this time by James and Ellen White. I think Ellen White one source called her like a prophetess for the Seventh-day Adventists. Like, she felt a message from God to help reform society through different measures of like health and religion and stuff like that. So John Harvey's very religious family joined the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And he was really mentored by James and Ellen White, especially Ellen. He learned a lot from them. He was really under their wing. And they helped kind of... a lot of the... like, several sources that I read literally said they groomed him to be, like, a certain type of person. Within, like, the church. Like, they're like, hey, this is a very brilliant person. We want to help reform the people's lifestyles. Let's mold him into being some kind of advocate for the health vision that we see for others.
Which doesn't necessarily seem bad at face value, but when you're starting to use the term, like,
Groom, yeah.
It's starting to feel icky. I don't know why. It feels icky.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure how to feel about this. It seems like John Harvey himself thrived and he really loved this direction he was going into. I don't know. It's just interesting because he hated the sight of blood and didn't want to be a doctor, but then after he met these people, he ended up becoming a doctor because of their influence, you know? Like, they sent him to medical school.
Oh, it sounds like you can't really say no.
Right. So I don't know the intricacies of this relationship they had. From everything I read, it seemed positive. I don't know.
But, I mean, how much of it is positive and how much is it, like, toxic positivity? You know what I'm saying? Like, it... yeah. I don't know. We weren't there. We don't have a time machine. Exactly.
But he did seem to thrive under their mentorship. And in 1872, he started training at the Hygiotherapeutic College in it wasn't Michigan. It was like Pennsylvania or New York or something. But for the time, it seemed kind of like a hippy dippy type of place. You know, like, he was like, I need somewhere that has like more science backing, you know, like, this is kind of frou-frou, Lulu. What is it that we use for like kind of mystical things?
Oh shit. It's woo-woo.
Woo-woo. Thank you.
Woo-woo.
I was like, frou-frou, Lulu, something like that.
I was trying to figure out what the hell Lulu was.
His first schooling experience, like his first, like, the college that he went to was a little more woo-woo than he was wanting. So he ended up transferring to the University of Michigan Medical School after 5 months.
These people are crazy.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know about that. And then he finished his schooling at the Bellevue Hospital Medical College in 1875, where he got his MD.
Okay.
So now he's a bona fide doctor, and then he even went to Europe and he studied surgery for several years.
Wow.
And so he became like a practicing surgeon. He actually performed 22,000 surgeries throughout his career.
Jeez. All while not liking blood.
I know, like he overcame that somehow.
Damn.
And so shortly after he got his MD in 1874, he started also editing. So James and Ellen had a magazine called The Health Reformer, which is how they kind of proselytized their mission for like health reform among the general public.
Right.
And so John Harvey took over. And then a couple years later, in 1879, he ended up changing the name of the magazine to Good Health Magazine. Because he was like, people don't like being told they're being reformed. So let's kind of change it a little bit. So, and it seemed to be pretty successful.
Okay.
And in 1876, he was placed in charge of the Western Health Reform Institute, which was a small medical practice that the Seventh-day Adventist Church owned, with about 20 in-house patients. And when he became the lead of that, he changed the name to Battle Creek Sanitarium. And it sounds like a very intense name. Sanitarium was just like a place where people went to get healthy, was how he described it.
Well, I feel like the term sanitarium has really been kind of...
As a negative stereotype.
It's very, very negative because... half of the time it's because of these ghost shows. Not that I don't love ghost shows, but
there's like, a lot of abuse that went on. And
there is in a lot of these because they weren't regulated really. And because that wasn't a thing. And they just kind of did what they wanted. And sanitarium just kind of turned into like a place, at least now in the modern mind, it's a place you went to die, basically.
Yeah.
Is what people think.
I will say... I read I will post the show notes of all my resources I used. I'm going to count really quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different sources. I didn't see any record or indication of any kind of medical malpractice or abuse going on in the sanitarium. I think there were definitely some things that were like, what the hell was this?
Yeah.
But it wasn't like what you hear about like
abused.
Patients being tortured.
Right.
Like under the belief that they're being treated psychiatrically or something like that. That did not happen.
Yeah. Good. Thank God.
I will talk about some of the things he did and you're going to be like, what?
Okay.
But it's not like lobotomies or anything like that.
Thank God. Okay.
I know. What a relief.
Woo!
So he ended up, like I said, he changed the name to Battle Creek Sanitarium. So in 1876, remember, it started with 20 patients. By the early 1900s, when he had renamed it to the Battle Creek Sanitarium, it housed 700 patients. And by the 1920s, there were about 1,200 patients.
Holy shit, almost doubled it.
And a lot of these patients were celebrity patients. Some of these patients included Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Amelia Earhart, Sojourner Truth, like big names in like history and technology and stuff like that.
Cool.
One thing that was the main principle in his sanitarium, and I'll go more into detail later about this principle that he lived under, but he called it biologic living. It was actually the name of like a paper that he wrote about the way that the mind, body, and soul all work together for health. Okay. Which I don't disagree with. It was kind of like the precursor to holistic healthcare.
Yes. Okay.
Like you need to take care of your body by eating healthy, exercising regularly, getting good sleep, drinking enough water, which will therefore improve your mental health and improve symptoms of like depression, decrease the need for drugs and substance abuse, and also just like improve your quality of life.
Don't hate any of that.
Yeah, I think
Awesome.
all of that aligns with modern science. A lot of it aligns with a lot of practices that we still kind of preach today.
Yeah.
His main goal was to prevent disease through a healthy lifestyle. He really advocated a vegetarian diet. He believed that meat and a lot of animal products like caused a lot of digestive issues. And again, like a lot of his focus is on digestion.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of it came from his childhood issues. So he focuses a lot of it on that. He also advocated for no alcohol or caffeine. Because he believed that they led to inflammation, they led to digestive issues, they led to unhealthy practices that could lead to down a darker path of addiction.
I mean, yeah, but...
Moderation, right?
Listen, do my feet swell every time I drink wine? Sure! Am I gonna stop? Moderately.
He also believed that you should not have sex unless it's for procreation.
Ugh.
So...
Sorry, that was a real-time reaction right there.
That was an involuntary reflex.
I couldn't hold that one in. Sorry, guys. Woo!
Again, like, there's some things that I think that he had good ideas about that I agree with. Yeah. And there's also, this isn't even the thing that will make you go, what the fuck? This is mild.
You took it too far. Already. You crossed a line with me. No caffeine, no coffee, no wine, and no fun time? I hate this. I hate this life.
It gets a lot worse. We'll get into it.
No.
Yeah. Like, what we will talk about at the end, I'm not going to mention it now, but it will probably ruin your opinion of this man forever.
Oh, no.
We mentioned it kind of earlier, but the way that the Seventh-day Adventist religion was going at the time is that they were really preaching this healthy lifestyle. And despite John being a medical doctor, he really used a lot of that religious influence to inform his practice as well. So the Battle Creek Sanitarium went from a small local operation to a nationwide destination under the Kellogg brothers' influence. And I don't think I've mentioned him yet. So despite John Harvey having 15 siblings, only one kept coming up in all of the resources. I have no idea who the other Kellogg children were. We'll talk about his brother named Will Keith Kellogg. But he was also at the sanitarium and was helping out with some things. I'm going to talk about some of the treatments that he used in his sanitarium. One was chewing, which was mentioned in our skit. So he believed that food should be chewed extremely well to aid digestion. Like, food should be chewed to liquid at least 40 times per, like, bite of food, which sounds very boring.
Yeah. Do you know how long it would take me to eat food?
Yeah. If it was like 40 bites or 40 chews per bite. And he allegedly developed a chewing song to aid his patients in chewing, which is kind of what we did in the skit.
And I hated every minute of it. Like, I already, like, the thought of having to sing that every time.
You chewed a bite for 40 times?
Nah.
So one thing about John Harvey is that not only was he a doctor, he was basically an inventor as well. He developed a lot of different machines and devices to aid in his beliefs of medical treatments. So one thing that he developed is called a light bath. It's like a cabinet that just shine bright lights onto a person in the cabinet. And he believed that it would cure any type of ailment or disease, including, quote, diabetes, insomnia, gangrene, syphilis, and even writer's cramp. And that's from history.com.
He made a tanning bed.
Yeah. With light bulbs.
Okay.
And said this will cure anything. He also developed something called sinusoidal current, which was electric shocks that he would put on the like put on the patient's skin to help cure, quote, lead poisoning, tuberculosis, and obesity, and even eye problems.
Okay. They use that now,
Uh-huh.
but it's not for any of those things.
No.
It's for, like, muscle pain.
Right. But one thing I will say is that he did develop, like, because I was reading that, I was like, we use that now. And even the article, I got these several things are from history.com, there is practice for electrical current to, like, help treating aches and pains, but not for gangrene.
No. It's not
or diabetes, or he would literally shock people's eyes
Don't do that.
try to treat their eye problems.
Don't do that.
No, don't.
Oh, just a thought.
Oh, she's squinting.
I thought about it too hard.
I know. I had to go through that process too, and I read that. I did the same thing. I was like, oh no.
Wild, wild west of medical professionals out there. Just
the 1800s were wild for medical. Like, again, his ideas were based in, like, current science that we agree with, but the techniques that he used were not always...
He was always just a little off. Just a little
bit. So he had another treatment called the continuous bath. So the sanitarium actually had like 46 different types of baths that they would use to, like, help treat skin conditions and other things. But he had one called the continuous bath, where a patient would be in the bathtub for as long as possible, up to months.
What?
They would leave to use the bathroom and then just be in a bathtub for months, potentially.
That's not good for your skin.
No, but he used it to treat skin diseases, chronic diarrhea, and mental health problems.
If somebody put me in a bathtub for months at a time, I would develop mental health problems.
I know, right?
No, you're all pruny. No.
He also was a big fan of enemas. And he had one, it was a 15-quart enema.
What? What? Why? Why is it so big? Why?
Oh my god, your face. Your face. I about died from looking at your face. Oh my god. Just you doing that mental math was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life. I can see you go through the 5 stages of grief on your face in like 5 seconds.
The 15 quarts, where that's going, what's happening.
I know. Like most enemas, if you're getting one, is like a pint of liquid. He used 15 quarts. That's so much. It's multiple gallons.
That's too much.
It's too much.
It's too much.
It's too much. He also was a fan of yogurt enemas.
Huh? What? See, we're circling back to our medical bonus episode where people are just putting things where they don't belong.
A lot of stuff went up butts, and I don't know why.
Could you imagine laying in bed and being like, oh great, you brought yogurt for breakfast? And they're like,
no.
No.
It's not for eating.
I'm gonna shove it up your ass. Open wide. Probably could after a 15-quart enema.
I know. Oh, you're ready. Oh my gosh.
It's the weirdest porn I've ever seen. I don't
know.
What?
And the last treatment we're going to talk about for now
Oh, no.
It's called the vibrating chair. And it was used to help treat bowel issues. So it was a wooden chair. Not comfortable. A wooden chair that was set on a device that would shake violently to try to loosen up stools in your abdomen.
Literally just shake the shit out of you.
And he also developed machines that would slap you to help circulation.
Slap. Oh my god. What the fuck kind of Looney Tune shit is happening?
I know. Okay, so those are his treatments that we're going to talk about for now. We have some we're going to talk about later that are horrifying. These are the non-horrifying treatments.
I don't like that these are the non-horrifying treatments.
Again, I don't
like where this is going.
I have headings that say the good stuff and then the bad stuff. And we'll talk about the bad stuff at the end.
What's worse than shocking your eyeballs? Your face. It ain't good.
It's not good at all.
She's literally the grimacing emoji right now, just like.
I'm just gonna go and I will give a trigger warning when we get to that point, but I'll go ahead and put one here. Just a very basic, generic for later in the episode. We will talk about white supremacy.
Oh no.
And genital mutilation.
No.
Yeah, that's how bad it gets. So that's my precursor trigger warning to probably about maybe an hour, like hour time mark.
Okay.
Or so.
Okay.
So that's how it gets worse. But we'll talk about that there. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about more of like his medical beliefs.
Okay.
So I actually found his paper called The Simple Life in a Nutshell, Biologic Living. It's a paper that he wrote. Honestly, I skimmed through it because it's very long. So I'm just going to give you the gist of it.
Okay.
So the principle of his biologic living was exercise regularly, breathe fresh air, drink plenty of water, eat vegetarian, avoid caffeine and alcohol. Those are the big takeaways.
Okay.
So I have this quote that I got that I'm going to recite. It's a little bit long, but I think it just kind of tells you what his mindset is about nourishing your body with healthy food in his eye. Quote, and live on the fat of the land. Forget breakfast foods and culinary delicacies. Abjure flesh pots and seafood. Find your whole bill of fare in the garden. Peaches, apples, luscious grapes, plums, and pears. Lettuce, green corn, celery, greens, tomatoes, melons, nuts, and all the rest of the luxuries which Mother Earth supplies. Revel in salads and berries and green stuffs untouched by fire. These dainty foods abound in vitamins, and vitamins are the real elixir of life discovered at last in this 20th century.
Okay.
He did propose and promote a vegetarian lifestyle. Like even like eggs were supposed to be seldom, dairy very rarely, like pretty as close to like a plant-based diet, like what we consider now, to like what you could get away with in the 1800s.
Right.
Or early 1900s. So the gist of his paper, and I summed up this like several page paper into about 4 main bullet points, or 3 main bullet points. Be aware of what your body needs and do so with purpose. Don't eat meat or animal products in general. Eggs are fine in moderation sometimes. Soured or curdled milk products such as cottage cheese, buttermilk, and yogurt can help people with, quote, casein dyspepsia, which is just, it seems like indigestion, but avoid like butter, cheese, regular dairy milk. Curdled milk products can be fine if you have tummy issues. Avoid, quote, poisonous foods such as coffee, tea, chocolate, and cocoa. He specifically mentioned like there's a chemical in those products, especially like cocoa and chocolate, that can lead to inflammation that he cited. Avoid condiments. Salt should be sparse. Don't overeat. Chew everything appropriately. Only eat when you're hungry. He's like, don't even eat 3 times a day. Like, that's society's rules put upon you. Like, only eat if you're hungry to avoid overeating. Limit sugar, stay active, avoid cold beverages, drink plenty of water, spend as much time outside as possible, especially cold air. He said, quote, temperatures above 70 are depressing.
Sir, that is a personal preference. I find it quite enjoyable for my bones to not hurt.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with that because I love weather 70 and below. When it gets to about like 85, I'm like, I'm out because I hate being hot. So I kind of agree. But also like warm weather, I think is good for you too.
Yeah. I'm in the 75 to 85, 90 camp. Anything past 90 starts getting really miserable, especially in the South where it's very humid.
Yes.
Anything, like right now, I have 2 blankets on. My feet are still cold. I'm not built for this. I'm not.
Your bones are achy.
My bones are aching. I can't wait for spring. And it's still humid, so it's just cold and wet. Not. I'd rather take warm any day. I can find a river to jump into if I'm hot.
I've been keeping Jack warm with a heating pad on the couch. Like, I have, like, a heating pad and then, like, his blankets. And I'm like, is it helping your old bones?
Old bones.
Oh
my son literally has a heated blanket under his fitted sheet. Like, it's a permanent fixture in his bed.
Yeah. Oh
He likes the warm, too.
my gosh. I just realized Jack's going to be 15 in a month.
Oh, my God. Old boy.
Old boy. Oh, my old boy. I love him. The final bullet point for his biologic living paper is have good posture, breathe deeply, have good personal hygiene, like brush your teeth, he didn't really even mention like bathing with soap. He was just like use clean water that will be sufficient to like clean your skin and your hair. Have 3 BMs a day. Sleep 8 hours a night, wear clothes that are comfortable and airy, not too tight. He said that if clothes are too tight, it can cause abrasions to your skin. So wear things that are like natural fibers like cotton or linen. Make sure it's airy and breathable. And then his take on mental health, like just don't worry. Stop worrying. Take vacations, take care of other people and be kind to others. Avoid drugs and habitual medicine use.
It's like, have you thought about not worrying about it?
Yeah.
Not being anxious anymore?
He was like, anxiety is the true killer, so just don't have anxiety.
Yeah, like, get the fuck over it. Duh.
So, in my opinion, these things, I think if you do all of these things, you'll have a very healthy lifestyle, but also not a very happy one.
No, there is a balance. Like, you be as healthy as possible, but still, like,
Enjoy life,
I don't know,
you know?
enjoy. Have a little splurge every now and then. And
Yeah.
go outside in warm weather. Feel the sun on your face. You do need vitamin D.
You do need vitamin D. And he did advocate, he was like, do not, like, sit if you can help it. Like, be outside, be active, exercise as often, and also just, like, go on hikes and be as, like, just live, don't sit, essentially, is what he said. Like, just be as active as possible. Which, again, like, he understood a lot of things about health. Like, I know, like, even modern science is like a sedentary lifestyle is going to kill you faster than a lot of other things that you could be doing. And, like, alcohol it can be dangerous. And caffeine isn't super good for, like, your sleep cycle. Like, you need to be careful with it.
Don't you badmouth coffee.
I love coffee. Listen. I love coffee.
Yes.
But I also understand how it affects your brain.
Me too. That's why I stopped. I literally do not drink caffeine after noon.
Yeah.
I cut it off because it stays in your system for up to 12 hours. And if I cut it off at noon, that gives me plenty of time to get what I need. And then that it carries me through the rest of the day.
Right. Like, honestly, like, I think caffeine, I took a neuroscience class in college, and we learned about, like, the different effects that different chemicals have on the brain, including caffeine, and, like, how caffeine's chemical shape, like, blocks the neuroreceptors in your brain that attract adenosine, and adenosine is what makes you sleepy. So caffeine blocks the neuroreceptors from adenosine entering, but caffeine wears off, and that's why, like, and then all the adenosine that's been building up in your brain floods into your neuroreceptors, and that's what causes crashes.
Oh. So it's
like
not really a boost of energy. It is the lack of tired.
Right. It's blocking the tired chemical.
Right. But it's not like making you push past. I mean, it is, but like it's not giving you energy. It's stopping your tired.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. You put that in a way that it took my neuroscience professor a lot to explain. He was French, but you put it so simply.
I'm a simple lady.
No, you did a great job. I think if you can, like, the true mark of understanding something is if you can put it in, like, layman's terms and simply. You know,
that means the best compliment
I've
ever been given. Because sometimes I am a dumb ass.
Girl, I feel that so hard. I feel so dumb, so much.
So much.
I'm the one that confused O and A earlier.
Well, my simple brain just kept making pipe laying jokes, so.
We're in this together.
We are, thank God.
In addition to his biologic living book, he wrote about 50 books throughout his lifetime. So he was a busy man.
Okay.
So now we're going to talk about the Kellogg Company. Because I'm sure everyone's dying to know, oh my God, it's Kellogg cereal, cornflakes. We're going to talk about
cornflakes.
Okay. So John Kellogg wanted to invent a healthy vegan breakfast. At the time that he invented the cereal, like, most breakfasts were, like, very heavy in animal products, like meats, like cured meats, especially eggs, milk, fats, potatoes that are fried, and animal fats. Like, I mean, you think about, like, you have eggs and bacon, you have, like, butter, you've got biscuits that are made with butter and milk, and, you know, a lot of very heavy, what he did not find nutritious foods for breakfast. So he was like, what's something that we can invent that's plant-based, that's healthy, that will give us the boost that we need? So at the sanitarium, he was giving his patients something called Zwieback biscuits. They were very, like, hard wheat biscuits that they would eat for, like, their oral health. Like, it would, like, keep their teeth healthy. Mm-hmm. In addition to, like, brushing their teeth and stuff. And he first started with, like, crushing up the Zwieback biscuits and called it granola.
Okay.
Yeah. So he kind of invented granola.
Wait, I was going to say, did he call it granola, or...
He called it granola. He
literally invented granola.
That was, like, the precursor to what we know as granola.
Holy shit. No way.
Uh-huh.
Huh.
Also, I meant to say this earlier, and another issue about breakfast at the time was that if you wanted to make, like, porridge or an oatmeal or some kind of, like, wheat-based breakfast, like, that, it took a long time.
Yeah.
Like, you had to, like, let it soak, and you had to let everything break down, and it took hours. And so, like, women, because women primarily made breakfast in the home, they would have to get up at, like, the ass crack of dawn to, like, just get things started. So by the time their children woke up, they would have something to eat for breakfast if they made, like, porridge or oatmeal or something like that. So John and his brother Will were trying to come up with some alternatives to, like, the Zwieback biscuits, because the Sweetback biscuits were not good. Like, they were healthy, but they just didn't taste good. They were just like hardtack almost. Ugh. Just not enjoyable. So they were trying to find alternatives that tasted better, but were still healthy. And they came back one morning, and there was some wheat dough that had been left out overnight. And they were like, fuck it. Like, let's just push it through. So they pushed it through the rollers, and the dough started flaking a lot. Yeah. And they're like, fuck it. So they toasted it. And then they gave it to their patients. And they're like, wow, this is great. We love these toasted dough flakes. And they're like, okay, we have something here. And they started a company called the Sanita's Nut Food Company. And they started producing these like wheat dough flakes and toasting them. Oh. For their patients. So originally it was called Granos. Mm-hmm. Because he loves calling things like scientific names. Like it was granola. No, it's granos. Within his first year, within like the first little while, they sold over 10,000 pounds to patients. Within the first year, it was over 100,000 pounds of the cereal.
Holy crap.
They actually started selling it to like the public, and the public was like, wow, we finally have like a basically instant breakfast. Like, we don't have to make it. We just pour it out of the box.
Yeah, this
is incredible.
Were they mixing it with milk at the time?
See, I'm not sure, because he didn't really like milk. I think they were just eating the flakes. Oh. And I have a picture of the original box, and it says Sanitas on it, toasted corn flakes, and it says Battle Creek Toasted Cornflake Company, because it was produced out of the sanitarium. And you see, it says W.K. Kellogg. We'll get into it. But from what I gathered, it was just like you just ate the flakes by themselves. And I think later it became, people started mixing it with cereal to like make it wet and taste a little bit better.
Yeah.
So at around the same time, a man named Charles William Post had visited this sanitarium in the 1890s to seek treatment for his mental health issues. And he set up his own company in Battle Creek with a grain-based coffee substitute and grape nuts. This is Charles William Post, as in Post cereal.
Wow. Grape nuts are that old?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
So now the Kellogg brothers they have competition.
Yeah.
So now they're like, okay, we need to make our recipe a little bit better. So they started working with rice and corn ingredients. And that is when they ended up coming with the Sanita's Toasted Cornflakes Company and just the product in 1898.
Wow.
And then they changed the recipe to be more shelf-stable in 1902. And that's when it started being like mass-produced. Unfortunately, the sanitarium caught on fire in 1902.
Oh.
And the Seventh-day Adventist Church told John to not build it back, because around this time he started kind of veering away from the Seventh-day Adventist belief system. So from what I read, I don't know a whole lot about the Seventh-day Adventist religion, but what little I read, it seems like it's a very literal interpretation of the Bible. Like they literally interpret like the book of Genesis and like the 7 days of creation. And John started kind of moving into like, it was described as panentheistic beliefs, which means that like God is everywhere. Like God is in nature, God is in everything that we do, like God is in everything that we see, which did not align with the Seventh-day Adventist beliefs.
Okay.
And so they discouraged him from rebuilding because they were trying to cut ties with him. And they still I think they still owned the sanitarium. So they're like, leave it, let's just cut our ties and go. And he was like, no, I believe in the sanitarium. So he tried to fundraise through the sales of his book, The Living Temple, which really pissed off the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They did not like it. They did not agree with what he wrote. And then eventually the profits from the cereal ended up building back the sanitarium. Because the cereal was very, very profitable. So I mentioned that John has a brother named Will. Mm-hmm. And Will was very, very essential to the production and marketing of the cereal. One thing that needs to be known is that they did not get along whatsoever. I saw in one of the sources I read that John was actually cruel to Will when they were growing up. Like, he was like a bully to him.
Oh.
Because John was older than Will. And it seemed like Will just did not give a shit about John or what he wanted, and did not really care about what, So after John invented, like, they changed the recipe to be more corn-based, so that's why it's called cornflakes. John ended up, he sold the rights. I couldn't figure out, like, why, but he sold the rights to the recipe to Will. And Will started producing the cornflakes. And that's why, like, on the original box where it says Sanita's Toasted Cornflakes, you see W.K. Kellogg. Because he was the one that owned the rights to this recipe and to the company. But then John started, like, and so Will was, like, marketing the cereal. He actually wanted to add sugar to the cereal to make it taste better and to make it more marketable. And John was super against it because he hated sugar. That didn't belong anywhere. And so he refused. I think that's part of why. I think it was mostly, like, creative differences that led to the split between the brothers. And so John was like, F it. He just sold the rights to Will to make his cereal with sugar, which was very, very successful.
Oh, yeah.
And then John started, like, making his own new recipe and then started calling it Kellogg's. And Will was like, what the hell are you doing? This is very backstab because you sold me the rights to the cereal, but now you're using your own name to produce your own cereal using my marketing techniques. Because Will's a brilliant, like, business-minded man. Like, he really knew how to advertise the product. And he was worried that, like, this product that was called Kellogg's that didn't taste as good because it didn't have sugar in it and just was not as high quality would ruin the kind of
the name of
the brand of his company and eat into his sales. So he actually sued John. And then John sued Will, and it was just a very contentious legal battle for several years, going all the way to the Michigan Supreme Court.
Holy shit. Who won? I gotta know.
Will won.
Wow.
He was awarded the name rights for Kellogg. And John had to pay for everything. He had to pay all the legal fees. He had to pay Will, like, millions of dollars in restitution.
What? Christmas has got to be awkward.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
So, and like I mentioned earlier, part of the reason why this was so successful is that the idea of just, like, pouring food from a box was
revolutionary.
Like, no one had ever heard of it before. And people were like, you mean I just pour this from a box into a bowl, add milk, and then I have an entire meal? I don't have to sit around for hours and hours and make it?
Yeah.
It's just ready?
Crazy.
And it was crazy successful. And also, I just have a little note. When I was mentioning that Will wanted to add sugar to cornflakes, by the 1940s, all cereals had sugar in them.
Yeah.
And Will also developed cartoon mascots to help advertise for cornflakes.
No way.
Which was very successful.
Genius.
Very genius. So, okay, that's all I have about Kellogg's cereal.
Okay.
For the most part. I bring it up a little bit later. But I think that's the end of talking about Will and the Kellogg Company. So in addition to cornflakes, John also invented granola, like I said, peanut butter.
No way.
Soy milk.
What?
And imitation meat.
Huh.
In the early 1900s.
Crazy.
So he had actually developed this food called Protos, and I couldn't really figure out what exactly it was, but what it seems like, it's like a grain and nut, like, food that you could slice.
Okay.
Like, I saw a recipe for, like, cutlets for Protos that you would, like, add to, like your pancakes or like your eggs or something. So it seemed like a type of meat substitute that was made from grain and nuts. So some kind of meat alternative. Like they didn't have like the products that we have today. So
Right.
he had to do what he had to do. So, but yeah, I didn't know he invented peanut butter.
That is crazy.
I know. So, despite all the drama going on with the cereal company, he continued to work at the sanitarium after it was built back up. He wrote and he gave lectures about health and stuff like that. In 1907, he was no longer considered part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They didn't, what's the word?
They didn't like kick him out per se.
No, they just were like, we're not associating with you anymore, kind of thing. And like, don't associate with us anymore. But it didn't, I don't know how he felt about it personally, but it didn't affect his professional life at all.
Okay.
I didn't see anything about him like being really sad about it. It kind of just seemed like he was just evolving in a way that was kind of moving away from that church.
Yeah.
In the 1910s, the sanitarium worked on training dietitians for schools, hospitals, and clubs, and shifted to teaching home ec teachers after a few years. So, like, these are how to, like, make healthy foods and etc. February 22nd, 1879, he married a woman named Ella Eaton. They both believed in chastity and abstinence. So they were both celibate for their entire marriage. He's dumbfounded.
Couldn't be me. That's all I'm going to say.
Reportedly, they were both very happy in their marriage, and they really try to contribute to the community. So one thing they did is, even though they had no biological children, they fostered a lot of children.
Okay.
They've raised 40 children in their home over the years, and even adopted several, helped fund their educations and stuff before Ella died in 1920. And by all accounts, John was a very attentive, loving father to his adopted and foster children. That could be by 1900s, early 1900s standards. I'm not sure. I didn't really see a lot of detail about that. One thing that was part of their beliefs is that they wanted to show that no matter, they were more like, you've heard of like the nature versus nurture argument. Mm-hmm. They were of the mindset like, it does not matter what your nature is. If you're given a good nurturing environment, you will turn out to be a good person. Because that's kind of like their lifestyle, right? Like if you choose to make good decisions, you live a good life, you will be a good person. Didn't always happen though. Like with the children they raised, one of the articles I read talked about one of the children that they had adopted, they had raised from basically infancy, and he had a lot of like mental health issues, like went back to them for money, like struggled with homelessness, etc. So you can't take out the nature part of that argument.
No, not completely.
John served on the Michigan Board of Health from 1878 to 1891, and then from 1911 to 1917. And he wrote a book against the use of tobacco called Tobaccoism, or How Tobacco Kills. And his mindset was that tobacco products and their use were devastating to society.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moral arguments with the use of tobacco products. In my opinion, tobacco use is not a moral argument, but, you know, early 1900s. Everything was a moral argument in the 1900s.
They got very personal
about
things.
Yes.
Yeah.
His book was very useful in a 1920 anti-tobacco campaign led by a man named Reed Smoot. When I saw that name, I was like, his name is Reed Smoot. A senator named Reed Smoot introduced a bill in 1929 that would put the regulation of tobacco under the Pure Food and Drug Act to like help regulate tobacco use and production. But Congress did not pass it through.
Rude.
So, and the article I read goes on to specifically mention how unregulated tobacco use and production of cigarettes continues to this day, because they can put whatever the fuck they want in cigarettes and no one can say anything. So,
ew.
Okay, so now I'm getting into the bad stuff. We're on that part. So I'm just going to go ahead and give another trigger warning for bad things. This next section's bad. All of it's bad.
Okay.
So he was extremely anti-masturbation. He thought it was humanity's greatest sin. He believed it led to, quote, poor digestion, memory loss, impaired vision, heart disease, epilepsy, insanity, and other issues.
Willing to risk it.
For the biscuit. Okay, this is where it gets, like, really, really bad.
Ugh.
This involves children, so just prepare yourselves. His treatments for masturbation ranged from binding hands, like literally binding boys' hands, putting cages on their genitals, and the only thing I'm going to say is mutilating genital areas for both boys and girls. I read the details. They are horrible. I do not want to repeat them. My sources are in the show notes. If you want to dive deep into what those treatments were, you can look. They are on history.com. I'm not going to repeat them here.
Yep.
It's really bad. So, I did see this as well. There is a misconception / meme on the internet that John developed cornflakes to help stem the need for masturbation.
Yeah.
He was like, these will prevent masturbation. That's not true. They were never advertised as this. It was not something that he was considering when inventing them. He really invented cornflakes to help with digestion was his primary goal.
Two different things. Yeah.
Yes.
2 different things. Yeah.
He did also believe that eating spicy or like very flavorful foods would lead to masturbation because it would excite the body.
Give me a taco.
He would explode if he ate a taco.
Oh my God, he would.
So, did he invent cornflakes to stop masturbation? No. Did he believe that bland foods prevented masturbation? Yes. But they're not tied together.
And it's not cornflakes specifically. It's not like he made it with that intention.
Exactly.
Got it.
He just thought that eating foods, I mean, he didn't even really want you to use salt. He thought condiments were not good for you. Like, stuff like mustard and ketchup and mayonnaise, like, he's like, those are bad. Don't eat condiments. Even stuff like oil and vinegar. He was like, no, don't do it.
I hate this.
I know. Okay, so now we're getting into, like, the other bad stuff.
Oh.
Eugenics.
Oh, no.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Shit.
Really bad stuff.
Oh, shit.
I know. Oh, it's so bad. I'm not laughing because I think it's funny. I'm laughing at Emily's reaction. And
just okay. You know what? Just hit me with it.
Okay.
Let's go.
The modern, what we call the modern eugenics movement began in the 1880s in America. It started becoming a lot more popular because people who thought they knew science started gaining traction. By 1913, 12 states had passed sterilization laws on those with, quote, low intelligence, immoral behavioral habits, mental health conditions, and more.
I would have been as sterile as a hospital. I am too wacky for this world. They would have looked at me and been like, nah.
You are not procreating one microcosm.
No. My kids are fine. It's fine.
Yeah, they're kids. It's fine.
They're kids. Okay.
John Kellogg was a huge proponent of this movement.
Of course he is.
He wrote a paper called Needed, a New Human Race.
Ooh.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'm about to tell you something. I can't even describe. Okay, I'm just going to tell you.
Okay.
So in
Are you telling the listeners or just me?
I'm telling everyone.
Oh,
everyone
no,
needs
guys.
to know.
We're in this together. I'm scared.
I can't. In 1913, he hosted a conference called the First National Conference on Race Betterment, where babies and children were evaluated and ranked on their attributes.
Live on stage?
Like in the conference. Like people were just like walking around judging babies like produce. Like the prize pumpkin.
What the fuck? What? Like, are parents putting their kids like on show like they bred a prize cow?
Yep.
At a fair?
Exactly. That's what happened. Look how good my genes are.
Oh, there's so much about this I hate.
Yep. That's why I was like, I can't even describe this. I don't even have words.
I feel nauseous. Like, what?
Originally, money earned from the Kellogg Company were being used to fund an organization that John founded in 1914 called the Race Betterment Foundation. Later, the funds from the cereal company were used to found the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, which, from what I saw, was not a eugenics foundation.
Wow.
According to Alexandra Ministern, who's a professor at the University of Michigan and author of Eugenic Nation Faults and Frontiers of Better Breeding in Modern America, Battle Creek, Michigan was, quote, the epicenter of the American eugenics movement.
Ew!
Which is where John Kellogg is. So John didn't really start delving into eugenics until he left the Seventh-day Adventist Church. That was really when he started like reading more of the materials and getting on board with the movement. He also believed that if we didn't get rid of our vices like alcohol use, drug use, masturbation, etc., that humanity would cease to exist. We would just poop into thin air.
If anything, we're going to have more of humanity because we're having a good time.
It's like the movie Idiocracy.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have any children, you know? Like, he did not propagate the human race. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. No.
So this is also, like, where he's also a complicated human being. Because my next, like, little tidbit is, like, the racism, like, white supremacist part of it. So, at the sanitarium, he did not believe in segregation. He trained black doctors and nurses just like he trained white doctors and nurses. He treated black patients. Sojourner Truth was one of his patients. He literally gave her his own skin to help, like graft onto her leg after, like, an injury that she had or a surgery.
Wow.
And he invited Booker T. Washington for a visit in 1910. A lot of the children that he took care of and a lot of that he adopted were children of color.
Okay.
He was also against race mixing.
What?
And had the mindset that people who are not white were not as intelligent and not as, like, the white supremacist views. Like, the white race was a superior race. Like, he also had those beliefs.
How do you have both?
I don't understand. I really don't. He especially was racist against, like, Asian people, especially Chinese people. What? He believed that the Chinese would, quote, overthrow the West in a way. What? Like, they would literally, this sounds so gross to say, he thought they would outbreed the West and then, like, they would take over the West because there were more people. It's so
I've had so many facial expressions. You
have. I've been watching your face, and it's what's keeping me laughing through all of this horribleness.
I'm trying to calculate. Oh, it's the calculus meme. I can't.
He wanted to establish a registry
No.
for breeding purposes.
Like show dogs.
Yeah. Like,
No.
literally, he wanted to create a pedigree for people so they could breed certain traits. My God, I can't get over your facial expression.
Ew. It's making my whole body hurt. Like, not just my brain, not just my heart, but like my whole body. It's just
It's so bad. It's so bad. Like, I will never understand people advocating for eugenics. I just do. I literally cannot comprehend it in my brain. And he did also advocate for the sterilization of people he thought were defective, especially people who committed crimes. He was like, crime is a genetic trait, and we must breed it out of people.
What? No.
No, it's no. It's
No.
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 So a lot of the advocacy that was going around among the eugenics movement was very effective. And in 1913, there was an act that passed in Michigan that authorized, quote, the sterilization of mentally defective persons.
No.
About 3,800 people were involuntarily sterilized between 1929 and 1974.
No. 74? Mm-hmm. It stayed until 74?
Mm-hmm.
My mom was 3.
Yep.
No. Oh, what the fool? I'm getting pissed.
In 1915, the Race Betterment Foundation held a conference at the Panama Pacific International Exhibition to celebrate the completion of the Panama Canal.
Oh, would you look at that?
I know, I put that in because we just covered the Panama Canal, and I was like,
literally
wow.
just covered it. Yeah.
Racism! More racism at the Panama Canal.
So much racism at the Panama Canal.
So the downfall of the movement, I did want to put this, it doesn't have anything to do with John Kellogg, but it's first started falling apart like after the Great Depression, because people started realizing that poverty was not a moral failing.
They don't want to be poor.
Yeah, it just happens. It's not a genetic condition to be poor.
No, it's just some bad luck sometimes.
It can happen to anyone. And people started learning that lesson the hard way during the Great Depression. And then the final nail in the coffin was World War II, when the Nazis were performing mass exterminations, because they were also huge eugenicists. And actually people in the Americas, in the United States, that believed in the eugenics movement actually collaborated with people in the Nazi party before the Holocaust. Because they're like, yeah, we all believe in eugenics. It's great. And then the Nazis are like, yes, let's kill everyone. And they're like, ooh, I don't know if I want to be associated with mass murder.
Yeah, we weren't talking about killing. Not that I'm saying what they were thinking was good, but
they weren't advocating for the extermination of people they that they considered less desirable. They were just like, let's just not breed with them. But then the Nazis were like, let's kill everyone we don't like. And then they're like,
how about
associate ourselves with them.
If you don't like somebody, don't have sex with them.
Yeah. Not your business.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. I
will say, however, unfortunately, sterilization procedures did continue up until the 1970s. And due to a court case that I read, there's 2 resources. I'm just going to name them now if you guys want to do a deeper dive into it. There is an article that was written by a woman named Elizabeth Stout. She is at the time, she was a grad student at the University of Michigan. She wrote, "To rid society of imbeciles, the impact of Dr. John Harvey Kellogg stand for eugenics." I have that article linked in the show notes. Mm-hmm. And then there's another article called How John Harvey Kellogg Was Wrong on Race by Nick Buckley for the Battle Creek Enquirer. He also wrote a lot about the eugenics movement and its downfall. I think they're both really great articles. So if you guys want to look more into those situations, those articles are really good. But I think it was Buckley's article that talked about, it may have been Stout's article, I don't remember. But one of them talked about a court case that happened where a woman was involuntarily sterilized. She sued about it, but ended up losing the case. So technically, there is no legal precedent to prevent someone from being involuntarily sterilized. Like, it is technically legal, and it still does continue to happen to this day.
No, it does not.
Not on this scale, but it does happen. I actually I watched a video a few years ago. This is so unrelated, so off topic, but I think it's important to talk about. There was a woman that was going around, I don't even know where she was at. It was, I think, a video on Vox, where she was going around and offering money to drug addicts and homeless people to sterilize themselves. She was like offering drug addicts like $200 or $300 to get sterilized.
What? Why?
Because from what I remember, this was years ago, but she did not want them to have children who were addicted to drugs and in unstable environments. And so she was like, I'm going to prevent these children from being born, period, so they're not living a life of struggle and hardship by paying people to sterilize themselves. And the thing is, like, she was preying on people who were vulnerable. She was preying on people who had drug addictions and were homeless.
They're just looking for a couple $100.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to agree to anything because they want money. Like, it was, like, I was watching that, I was like, oh my, like, what?
Ew.
And so that she had, like, her own, like, tiny, like, small-scale eugenics movement going on by, like, paying people to sterilize themselves so they wouldn't reproduce. Like, people in vulnerable poverty situations. Yeah, it's horrible. Anyway, back to John Harvey Kellogg. Honestly, like, I couldn't find a lot about his later life. Like, all I could really find is he just continued to work at the sanitarium. He continued to lecture, wrote books, did his eugenics stuff. In 1943, when he was 91...
Oh my God.
He started having some more intense health problems. He actually developed Bell's palsy. And for those that don't know, Bell's palsy usually results in like the left side of your face, like, being paralyzed and, like, drooping. And he actually became reclusive out of embarrassment for his palsy. And later that year, on December 11th, he ended up contracting bronchitis and pneumonia.
Oof.
He slipped into a coma on December 13th, and then he died on December 14th, 1943, at 91 years old.
Holy crap.
So he was hella old when he died.
Hella old.
And there was actually a movie made about him. There's a book written about him called The Road to Wellville, written in 1993. And then there was a movie made out of the book that stars Anthony Hopkins as John Harvey Kellogg. And there's another book I found. I just did not have the mental energy to read it. But I found another one of his books called Plain Facts for Old and Young. And it's for free with Project Gutenberg, which is working to, like, provide free books, like digital copies of books to the public. So I have, if you're interested, I have a link to that book in the show notes as well. If you, for some reason, want to read more about John Harvey Kellogg and what he wrote about. Maybe get some health tips and how to give yourself a 15-quart enema.
Don't. Don't shove things up your butts. Well, you know, things that don't belong there.
Yeah. If you're going to shove something up your butt, do it safely with lubrication.
Flared base. Flared base. You know,
non-bacterial. Like, don't do yogurt.
Ew.
Oof.
You know, for an episode that was all about not having sex, we've made so many jokes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
That's just what we do.
It is.
So that's what I got on John Harvey Kellogg. The Adventure of Cornflakes.
Dude. I don't think I like him.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I don't think I do either.
Everything, even all the good things he was going for, was just so boring.
Yeah.
That it does not outweigh the bad.
I 100% agree. I cannot imagine chewing my food 40 times per bite. Like, my bland, unseasoned, like, probably raw vegetables.
I fucking slammed a sloppy joe and some tater tots for dinner tonight. So I would not. I had some peas too.
There you
but
go.
I would not be friends with this guy.
I feel like if this man was in your presence, he would just, like, short circuit and probably melt.
Yeah. It's like, how are you still alive, brother? I don't know.
And I just taken a sip and I had to not sneeze.
Yeah, the surge doesn't feel good coming back out.
Oh,
like it's,
no. That made me think about, like, all your car accidents, all your...
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'm just here. I'm here. I have body pain and I'm just ready to live. So
There's one thing about Emily. She loves living.
I love living. I've cheated to death a few times. So yeah, we're here.
You appreciate it.
And I'm just happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy you're here too.
Thanks, bud.
We can do this podcast together.
Yeah. Well, I eventually need to get, like, something to put my feet. Yeah, because you know, I am still wearing the compression socks at 31.
You need, like, one of those, like, recliners that have, like, the ottoman. And then you need to, like, get, like, a desk that, like, pulls up closer to you. And then you can, like, podcast from this chair.
So, okay, but then I'll get a double chin. So here we go. I'll get a ceiling-mounted TV screen, like a computer screen, so I can, like, lean back and recline, and I'm lay here.
There you go.
Know? Yeah. It's like, is she bedridden? No, she's just trying to prop her feet up.
She's got poor circulation. She needs one of those slapping machines that Kellogg invented.
I literally, on my Christmas list this year, it was a long shot, and I knew, but I tried. I put a computer chair on there that had a heated seat and a back massager and a spot for you to sit crisscross applesauce, but, like, your legs would be lower than, like, your butt. And I'm like, I need it. And that bottom part swiveled so you wouldn't hear me just banging on the desk the whole time. I'd have,
I want that chair.
Wiggle room. I want the chair. And it was like $250 and no one got it. And I was so mad. I wasn't mad, obviously, but I was like, no, the chair.
Man, I would live in that chair. I would, like, take it all over my house and just,
y'all,
like,
my
constantly
birthday's
sit
in
in
May.
this chair.
Morgan's is next month, February. So
get us the chairs.
You know, get us chairs. Spend $500 on your favorite podcast host. We're trying to live the opposite of how John Harvey Kellogg lived.
Yes.
We're trying to live vivaciously.
We are fucking hedonists over here.
We are.
It's just pleasure constantly.
Constantly. We're drinking coffee. We're drinking wine.
We're and tea. He was
having
against
a good
tea
time.
too.
Yeah, and tea.
Yeah.
We're laying some pipe. We're doing all the things, and we're being nice to other people.
Yeah.
And we're being accepting of other people. So literally the opposite. So, yeah, if you want to live a nice, healthy life, do what John Harvey wasn't. So, socials?
Yes, let's do socials.
Got it. Okay. If you enjoyed this, find us on Facebook
Ill-Equipped History podcast group and page.
Ill-Equipped Topsy. So
I'm sorry, I can't. I'm having to really force like air through my lungs right now because they're completely giving up.
Oh my god. Okay, we'll do it fast then. Instagram.
At Ill-Equipped History.
TikTok if it's still around.
At Ill-Equipped History.
Gmail.
Ill-equippedhistory@gmail.com.
And Patreon, where you can get stickers and hopefully merch soon and bonus episodes and just more of us in general.
Yes, at patreon.com/ill-equippedhistory.
Just $5 a month. So, you know, if you like to live, don't listen to John. If you like to be sad, do what he says, I guess.
And live to 91.
Yeah. At what cost? At what cost?
At what cost?
Yeah. Not doing that celibate thing. Hell no.
No celibacy, no racism. Those are not.
Yeah. No.
Not in this house.
That was not in my like Kellogg's bingo card. That really threw me.
So I was like, prepare yourself because that's not just about cereal.
For a dude that had no sex, he had a lot of opinions about it.
I know, right?
Like, you don't get an opinion on things you don't have a hand in.
Literally.
Okay, we gotta go. This is getting bad.
Okay. Thanks for listening. I'm trying to like force air through my lungs right now because they're not working. So, thanks for listening.
Yes. Go eat some cornflakes or something, I guess.
Ooh,
The frosted kind.
I was about to say, I want frosted flakes.
Yeah, I know. But the milk upsets my tum-tum. My digestion.
Get you some soy milk.
Oh, God. Okay. Okay, bye.